Today's edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by the Mac Voices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter. Visit macvoices.com/newsletter today, sign up, and stay up to date. Sam Altman and OpenAI have really been in the news this week as Altman apparently strikes a deal with Apple for OpenAI to at least participate in their AI efforts. And also the fact that Satya Nadella apparently contacted OpenAI and said he wanted to talk about exactly what their deal with Apple was going to be. So is Sam Altman turning into a Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk? I mean, is he turning into someone at this level? Jeff, you're chuckling.
No, he is not. I'm sure he has some great ideas. However, he likes to craft his own distortion reality field, and he's pushing his product forward. At this point, it feels in some ways almost haphazard. And I mean, to the point where in an interview just recently, someone asked him about how ChatGPT works and how the AI that OpenAI uses works. And he said, well, we don't really know. I mean, Steve Jobs understood how the stuff that Apple did worked. Sam Altman is rushing headstrong in with products that may bring value to people, but at the same time, it's being pushed through without even understanding what it really is and how it works. I would not put Sam Altman today in the same category as Steve Jobs and Bill Gates.
To be fair, Jeff, I did say becoming. I didn't say that he's there yet. So, but you make a really, really good point. But then what does that say about, in this case, Microsoft adopting OpenAI's tools so readily and throwing them into every product it seems that they have as quickly as they can possibly get there?
It goes back to what we were discussing earlier. These companies are throwing out everything out there that they can to entice us into using their products. Sometimes it works in our benefit and sometimes it doesn't.
Jeff, you'll be glad to know that when you started that, you got a thumbs up from Webb. So he agrees with
High
you.
praise indeed.
Yeah. Webb, you have anything to add to that?
If I may, it's. I don't think that Sam Altman's anywhere close to a Steve Jobs or name the modern CEO that you want to, whether you like him or not. He's nowhere near it. He really battles with his board of directors a lot. There's an aspect of this article that we kind of touched on. We didn't. Remember, Microsoft has a lot of money invested in OpenAI, and that's why what's his name, the Nadella is very interested in what the deal is that Apple may have, because he has a vested interest, corporately speaking, he has a vested interest in this product. So that'll be interesting too, how it plays out. We've known for a couple of weeks, at least through the rumors, that Apple was not trying to build everything from scratch, and they were looking for a partner. And you go to the 400-pound gorilla, and especially when you're Apple, because you're also the other 400 or 800-pound gorilla in the space too. So, are we surprised? No. am I surprised that Altman is trying to get some press out of this right now? No, he got it out of the New York Post. You said you got it from someplace else. I don't know if it was the Times or something else, but Chuck, but it's we'll see where it goes. Like I said, we're going to get an announcement next week, and like I said, I'm going to be disappointed. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very, very wise statement, Webb, because we have this ahead of every major Apple announcement that it seems like everybody gets all these crazy, wild rumors going, and then we're all let down by the reality of the situation. Whereas a while back, when we didn't have all this speculation running rampant, we would have all been pleasantly surprised. So I do agree with you. I just did a Google and I search, and I can't find, other than the fact that the reported numbers are between 10 and 13 billion dollars invested by Microsoft and OpenAI. I can't find anything that says exactly how much of OpenAI Microsoft owns. And so I bring this up in relation to the fact that if Microsoft has 13 billion invested in OpenAI, or however that financial arrangement is made, you would thought that they might have wanted to say something to Microsoft before they went and talked to Apple. And this is where I just wonder if Sam is doing a bit of cowboy activity because he doesn't feel he owes any allegiance to Microsoft at this point, or is he beyond allegiance? Those are my words, not nobody else's.
Sam has a history of cowboy politics, if you will,
yeah.
Or no, cowboy diplomacy. Sorry, I have to get my Star Trek lines right.
I was trying to avoid it, Jeff, but you did it. So okay, go for it.
I got it. Yeah. No, cowboy diplomacy. That's his thing. He shoots from the hip, and he does what he wants, and then he'll tell people later on what he wants to tell them, which is part of the reason why he was clashing with the OpenAI board so much. And seems he's resolved that problem now, though.
But it seems like he's
and keep in mind that OpenAI has a very unusual ownership structure or governance structure too. It's actually two organizations, and it'll be very hard to determine your question, Chuck, how much of the entity does Microsoft own. I don't think you can, as I understand, you can't put it in that context. Remember all the brouhaha that happened 6-8 months ago. How did I describe it? It was like a knife fight in a clown car. Everything that was going on, it was just ridiculous from a governance standpoint. What all was going on, but it's hard to determine how you determine the size or the value of OpenAI.
Marty, David, I know you guys have been very quiet. David, I know you have some experience with some of this in the corporate world. I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but how do you feel about this? How do you, with Copilot being pushed into so many things at this point? Is it acceptable?
I think it's acceptable. I think companies in general are probably just they're going through some serious evaluations. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to get thrown at people in the corporate world because it's a huge investment. There's a lot of investment costs involved with, especially with Microsoft. You're paying a per seat license for every person to have access. Obviously, you do negotiations with Microsoft when you're going to try to get the best price you can based on how many employees are in a particular company. But it's to a point that I'm seeing that it isn't being pushed that hard. It's just really being evaluated.
Marty, how about New World?
I look at it and look at the article and think this is the 7th season of Silicon Valley right there. Script's already been written.
I love that show.
I don't understand why there isn't a parody of this. This post article, and then I think I saw a previous article that was behind a firewall about Sam Altman. It's like this is better than the Housewives in terms of reality television.
Yeah.
That's just my reaction to it. It seems like a lot of kids playing in a sandbox.
It's an interesting analogy. Marty will be back next week with his analysis of the Real Housewives of Silicon Valley. The next one, I want to be careful because we touched on this one last week a bit, and that is this new recall feature in Windows. The reason I bring it up again, twofold. First of all, the article I just pushed in, apparently there's a tool that will give the recall feature for quote-unquote unsupported PCs. But there was also a security vulnerability found within recall that apparently, and I listened to a couple explanations, and I'm not going to try to mimic them because I won't make it. But there is a point in using recall that your information is unencrypted. It seems to be unencrypted at rest, but during use, it's not encrypted. And this is a pretty intense security vulnerability. I think 9 to 5 Mac, mentioned that this is really hurting, to put it mildly, what should be one of Microsoft's best features and most impressive uses of AI, and it's falling flat on its face from a privacy standpoint. This right before Apple's WWDC next week, which we all are assuming will have a very strong privacy focus, or at least privacy component. So we're right back to this. Does anybody really want to have everything they do on their computer, every image, everything they look at, and all recorded, where it could possibly be accessed at any point?
Chuck, you said there's a security vulnerability in recall? No. It is the security vulnerability. That's it. Everything that it's capturing, it's unfiltered, except for DRM. It won't capture DRM content. So you type in a password, you type in security, whatever, it's all there in plain text in an SQL database on your computer, and a white hat hacker has already dropped a proof of concept of how you access all the content in the database, and it's like a 5-minute process for it to chew through everything in your recall database, and that's it. So the whole thing is a security nightmare, just straight up. And the more I learn about this, the more I want to know why there wasn't someone in at least one of these meetings that said, we need to slow down and think about what we're doing here, because this is just a giant red flag. And yet here we are.
Well, Jeff, you could probably say that in the boardrooms or the operational meetings of a number of companies for a number of different things going on, not just Microsoft and not just recall.
Mm-hmm.
That said, right now I get to pick and choose what I save. And for a second, I'm going to assume that my computer is not connected to the internet, and the only way anybody could ever obtain this information would be to break into my home and take it. But still, that means it's sitting here, all the information, not just what I choose to save, all the information is there. And that is, I'm with you, that just seemed massively irresponsible to facilitate that, especially as part of the OS.
And it's on by default.
Of course.
Yeah.
And even when it's off, and I might be conflating this with something else, but I think even when it's off, it's still recording stuff.
Yeah. Jeff Mark in the chat room says, remember, I don't remember this. Remember about 12 plus years ago, Smile Software had a product that would create a PDF of every web page visited in Safari. Do you remember that?
Yes. What was that called? Yeah. But it lets you control which pages you're capturing. And yeah, it's the thing. It gave you that sidebar down the side of your window, and I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I don't remember this. I mean, I remember PDF Pen having the ability to capture websites.
Yeah, this is a separate app.
But this is a separate app. Wow.
And I mean, it was a really interesting idea. But it didn't catch on. But yeah, I mean, the idea was you have a website where you're doing research. So you use this to capture the content from separate pages. Now you've got it, and you can search within the app the content of that web page or those web pages.
Nothing pops up right away in my poor, pathetic Google search. So, interesting. I do not remember that. And then again, think about, the security landscape that we did have or didn't have back then, because A, we were all a bit more naive, and B, there wasn't quite as much stuff out there to capture.
Sure. But in that case, you were controlling what was being captured. It wasn't just like every single thing you do, every page you hit. It's just sucking it all down and storing it.
Right. Marty, you say Scan Plus?
Yeah, I did a quick search, and I'm not sure if this is right or not, which is why I put it in the chat room. But it seems like Scan Plus was a product that came out, PDF Pen Scan Plus, back in 2013, and I'm wondering if that's the product.
That's a different thing.
That was more like a scanning application to scan a document or receipts and stuff like that. So yeah, I had it, I used it. So
same.
Yeah.
All right. I'm bad.
No, not
but
at all.
You did a great job of finding a useful tool they made.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the kind of thing that Smile would have been really good at this. And the way you describe it, Jeff, it would have made perfect sense, especially for that point when we didn't have, especially the fast internet connections we do now, to do the searches. That if you could download an entire website and then search within that website, that would be more than a little advantageous.
Mm-hmm.
So, following up to something we definitely talked about last week, and that is Spotify's car thing, and them withdrawing it from the market. Well, now guess what? They've decided that they're going to give refunds.
Surprise!
Yeah, really. But you have to have an original receipt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that should be hard because you got it through them anyway. You probably got an email on it. So
this is what they should have done in the beginning.
Yep.
Saying.
Webb, did you ever have one?
I did not. No.
Okay.
I had Spotify for just 1 year. In the Tesla, it had you could use Spotify as a subscription service. Now they use Apple Music, and I do that instead because I'm already paying for it with the Apple One account. So I just let it go. I was never a big Spotify user.
I'm sorry, guys. I clicked on something on the next story, and I got an ad that was blasting music into my ears.
Ouch.
Webb, I asked that simply because I did not know if you bought that straight from Spotify or whether you could buy it like at a big box store like Best Buy or Amazon. So I don't. If you're right, if you
I get your point. I understand your point.
But at the same time, you would think that that means they would have records of who they sold them to. maybe I'm asking too much.
You would think they wouldn't want to get into that fight, on, well, you don't have the original receipt, so.
Yeah.
Isn't the physical product proof enough that you made a bad mistake?
I, as a consumer, made the bad mistake, or they, as the manufacturer, made a tremendous.
Both.
Yeah.
Take your choice. Take your choice. Since we're beating on Spotify, this is an article Mark Fuccios put in earlier this week into our Slack, reminding us that Spotify is increasing prices again.
More expensive than Apple Music too.
I'm so glad that the all those governmental entities decided to go ahead and break Apple's lock on this, so that Spotify could raise the prices for us.
Yep. Crazy.
I'm sort of at the point where, okay, I've got Apple Music and I don't have it well organized. I have Spotify that's really well organized. I'm not going to drop Apple Music because it's part of a bundle. Maybe I need to work my stuff from Spotify over to Apple Music just based on the amount that I actually listen to music, having two services that I'm paying too much for. This is the tipping point for me because we're seeing these creep up every year with more costs in duplicate services that I have. So I have to do kind of my own inventory on what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, whereas I've got Apple Music, but I also have a YouTube Premium subscription, which YouTube Music comes with that. So I kind of go between the two of them, but and it's not terribly expensive as far as the YouTube Premium. I think YouTube Premium is well worth every penny, just not having to put up with ads on YouTube. So YouTube Music is a bonus. But yeah, Spotify, I've never been a big fan of Spotify, and this just emphasizes that point with this multiple price increases within a year.
Mm-hmm. David, I've got YouTube Premium 2 for the ads, and I never think about the benefit of the music.
Yeah.
So, it's sort of where
good.
the entry point was for me was it's going to get rid of the ads and I'll pay to do that.
Yep.
All you young whippersnappers, I did something. Look, I got CDs. When was the last time you saw these?
I got a whole drawer of them still.
Web.
Yeah, but this is new.
Web. I buy CDs all the time. But when I go to live shows around here, it's indie bands and they have their merch. I will buy their album every single time because that's how you support these people. So I'm with you. I still get physical media.
So Jeff, then do you rip that physical media?
I do. Yep, I rip it, and actually, the last one I ripped was a month or so ago. The Teresa Storcher band. She had a new album release, and went to the launch party at Roots Music Project and bought her new album. And yep, actually, the disc is sitting right over there.
So that means I assume that you still have an external super drive of some persuasion.
Yep, it's sitting on the shelf right over here.
Everything in Jeff's house is right over there.
Yeah,
within
Dave,
reach.
yours is within reach.
Okay.
I've got a Blu-ray Pioneer one that I use.
Okay, the chat room's going crazy over CDs and ripping.
Oh, like Barry's comment, rip it good.
Yes,
Rip it good.
Oh boy,
Better rip it fast, or I'm gonna get pissed.
The MacVoices live choir here. This is terrifying. Marty, for what it's worth, I'm talking a long time ago. I was on Spotify and I had done a little bit of music organization and then wanted to move to Apple Music for obvious reasons. there were some utilities, and I know they're still in there in the App Store, that are really good at moving your playlists over.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. When I read that article, I was thinking, okay, there's got to be a tool that can do this for me.
Yeah. There was just a recent article about that.
You don't happen to know where it was, do you, Dave?
No.
Or did it give, I was going to say, did it give recommendations?
I believe it did. I'll find it.
Yeah, mine was so long ago, and it's one of those single-use pieces of software that you have. You use it, it does its job, and then you really don't need it again. But it was well worth the money the little bit of money I spent on it, even though I didn't have a huge amount of curated playlist or even just material. It still made life much, much easier for me. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.